regarding nephrolithiasis. It is a common painful condition. The pain will be very severe. And stone formation is due to crystallization. That is, whenever there is increased amount of particles in the urine, they can form crystals, and these crystals may grow into stones. And when these moves down the ureter, they can cause ureteric colic. The main idea is to identify the nature of the stones and to prevent its future recurrence. You have to find out the nature of stones. Coming to the types of stones, the commonest stone is calcium oxalate. It constitutes about 75% of the stones. The other stones are calcium phosphate, uric acid, struvite, and cystine stones. Cystine stones are very rare. Remember, calcium oxalate is the most common stone, accounting for 75% of the stones. And drugs that can cause crystalluria are acyclovir, atazanavir, triamtrin, indinavir, and sulfadiazine. The associated conditions that predispose to stone formations are obesity, diabetes, distal renal tubular acidosis, and GI disease that increases the absorption of oxalates like colitis and gastric bypass surgery and primary hyperparathyroidism. Coming to the pathogenesis, there is supersaturation of the urine with particles which results in crystallization, resulting in stone formation. Though many of us will be having this supersaturation, it is the presence of inhibitors that reduces the stone formation. And the main important inhibitor is citrate. Citrate is the main inhibitor for renal stone formation. Normally what happens is calcium phosphate gets deposited in the renal papilla and it gets eroded through the minor calyx. It forms a minute protrusion through the calyx upon which calcium and oxalate and calcium phosphate gets deposited, which may turn into a big stone. And this site is called as Randall's plaque. Randall's plaque. Coming to the risk factors, it is broadly classified into dietary, non-dietary, and urinary risk factors. Dietary risk factors, just remember the risk factor that decreases the stone formation. Calcium, phytates, and potassium. Intake of calcium, intake of phytates, and intake of potassium decreases stone formation, whereas increase in the sodium, animal protein, oxalate, sucrose, and fructose increases the risk of stone formation. So any patient who has renal stone should be avoided to decrease the sodium, that is salt, animal protein, avoid vegetarian, oxalates which are rich in potatoes, and sucrose and fructose. Regarding the calcium, everyone used to believe that calcium is the main predisposer for renal stones, but on the contrary, calcium intake decreases the risk of stone formation. How? This calcium binds with oxalates in the intestine and prevent oxalate absorption. Hence, calcium oxalate excretion in the urine is decreased. Hence, renal stone formation also gets nullified. But remember, it is dietary calcium. But calcium supplementation increases the risk of stone formation because of the amount that is consumed. Oxalates, increased amount of oxalate in the urine can predispose to calcium oxalate formation. So you have to decrease the oxalate consumption. Oxalates are rich in spinach, rhubarbs, and potatoes. Animal protein. Animal protein increases calcium and uric acid excretion and also decreases urinary citrate. Citrate is inhibitor of stone formation. Coming to sodium and sucrose increases calcium excretion, whereas potassium decreases calcium excretion. So you have to decrease sodium and increase potassium. More or less looks like a DASH diet, dietary approach to stop hypertension. So decrease sodium and increase potassium. Potassium also increases citrate excretion. Coming to the vitamin supplementations, vitamin C favors stone formation. Hence, vitamin C, that is ascorbic acid, should be stopped. Vitamin B6 is beneficial in a particular form of monogenic disease called type 1 hyperoxaluria. Fluids, you have to take plenty of fluids because plenty of fluids will dilute the urine. The fluid intake should be such that the urine output should be maintained at around 2 liters per day. Coffee, tea, beer, wine all decreases stone formation, but sugar sweetened beverages increases stone formation. Non-dietary factors like obesity, hard working conditions, and lack of restroom, lack of drinking water all can predispose to stone formation. Coming to the urinary factors, as we said, fluid intake is one of the main determinant. Apart from that, urinary calcium and urinary oxalates favor stone formation. Urinary citrate, as we know, is the main inhibitor of stone formation. Increasing the uric acid in urine can precipitate uric acid stones. Coming to the urine pH, uric acid stone, uric acid. So this acid, uric acid stone formation forms in acidic pH, that is pH below 5.5. So a stone that forms when the renal pH, urine pH is less than 5.5 is uric acid. Calcium phosphate is formed above 6.5, more or less in an alkaline pH. But oxalate stone is not influenced by urinary pH. Genetic diseases, like there are two monogenic diseases. One is primary hyperoxaluria, where liver produces enormous amount of oxalates which can get excreted in the urine and can cause calcium oxalate stones. And cystinuria. Approach, the patient will be having pain, which will be very severe and may radiate. It will sometimes associated with nausea and vomiting. Pain radiates anteriorly if the stone is in the upper part of the urethra, and can radiate to the ipsilateral testicle and labia if it is in the lower part of the urethra. Remember, the same stone when located in the uretrovesical junction, it can result in frequency, mimicking cystitis. The differential diagnosis for urinary colic are acute cholecystitis, acute appendicitis, acute diverticulitis, acute cystitis, depending upon the location of the stone impingement. Investigations, WBC can be elevated, urine will be having RBCs and WBC. CT can detect renal stones even less than 1 millimeter. Uric acid is radiolucent. Remember U and U. Uric acid forms in acidic pH and uric acid is radiolucent. Ultrasound can detect stones only when it is in the kidney and upper part of ureter. And the other thing that you have to go for is potassium, turulite, renal tubular acidosis, calcium, and uric acid. Parathyroid levels can be done if the patient has clinical series suggesting of hyperparathyroidism, and vitamin D levels. You have to collect 24-hour urine sample while the patient is on his regular diet, and also measure the urinary volume, urinary sodium, potassium, calcium, oxalates, citrate, and pH. Stone analysis will be helpful if available. Urological interventions are needed only in the following 4 situations, that is, the patient has anatomical deformity which hinders in the movement of the stones downwards, and when the size of stone is more than 6 millimeter, and the patient has concomitant UTI because it comes under pus under pressure, in which case it has to be relieved immediately, and the patient has intractable pain. Extracorporeal shockwave lithotripsy, which was used commonly, is now used less frequently, and urological procedures like basket extraction and laser fragmentations are nowadays most commonly used, and percutaneous nephrolithotomy can be done for larger stones which are in the upper ureter. Prevention, dilute the urine, that is by taking water to maintain a urine output of 2 liters per day. Coming to the individual stones, calcium oxalate stones, calcium restriction is harmful. Remember, calcium restriction should not be done. If calcium restriction is done, your oxalate will get absorbed from the intestine and it can get excreted in the urine, and where calcium can combine with oxalate to form calcium oxalate stones. Minimize sodium and animal protein. So as with hypertension, the only thing that you have to suggest to the patient is decrease the sodium and animal protein. Thiazide diuretic causes hypocalciuria, but loop diuretic causes hypercalciuria. So thiazide diuretic can be given, preferably chlorthalidone. Reduce your ascorbic acid intake. Avoid oxalate-rich diet, and citrate is a natural inhibitor which is rich in fruits and vegetables, and also you can give citrate supplementation in the form of potassium citrate. Calcium phosphate stones. It is commonly seen with patients having distal renal tubular acidosis and hyperparathyroidism. Management more or less same like the calcium oxalate, but only thing you have to monitor is calcium phosphate stones gets formed when the pH is more than 6.5. So you can't supplement alkali. Even if you supplement alkali, you have to monitor the pH. Uric acid stones. Uric acid stone, it forms when the pH is less than 5.5. So you have to alkalinize the urine by giving alkalizing agents like potassium citrate or fruits and vegetables. Reduce the animal protein because animal protein is the source of uric acid. When all these measures fail, you can try allopurinol and febuxostat. Cysteine, two drugs can be used, that is tiopronin and penicillamine. This binds with the cysteine and prevents renal stone formation. Stewart stone, it is also called as infection stones or Strahan calculi or triple phosphate stone, calcium, ammonium and magnesium phosphate. It is mostly due to urease producing bacteria like Proteus, Klebsiella and Providencia infections. You have to treat the underlying cause, prevent UTI, and also a drug called acetohydroxamic acid can be used, but this drug has many side effects, so better avoid it. Avoid infections.